The transfer window has slammed shut, but instead of celebration or optimism around Ibrox, the air is thick with tension, doubt, and outright frustration. What should have been the end to a promising summer of rebuilding has turned into something that feels more like a setback than a step forward. And it's all been brought to a head by one man, Russell Martin. His deadline day decisions have left a massive section of the Rangers' support scratching their heads, if not downright furious, and the mood heading into the most important stretch of the season is anything but united. Let's be real here. After weeks of rumors, of names being thrown around, of promises, some subtle, some not so much, that this squad was going to be sharpened for battle, what actually played out has felt underwhelming at best and destructive at worst. Russell Martin, who came into the job with plenty of supporters backing his fresh ideas and bold mentality, is now standing at the center of a storm of criticism. And it's not just about the players brought in, though that alone would cause enough controversy. It's the bigger picture, the vision, the strategy, or maybe the lack of one. We start with Derek Cornelius. The Canadian international has arrived on loan from Malmo, and look, on paper, it's not a bad signing. He's athletic, experienced enough, and clearly someone Martin has had his eye on. Rangers do have the option to make the move permanent next summer, extending his contract until 2029, so there is long-term thinking involved. But again, that's on paper. The problem is not just Cornelius himself, it's the broader defensive shuffle that came with his arrival. Earlier in the window, we saw Narajiga and Manny Fernandez come in, both young, raw defenders with plenty to prove. In the same breath, Martin sanctioned the departure of Robin Proper and then, more surprisingly, Ben Davies, who left for Oxford United on loan. Now, say what you want about Davies. Yes, he was inconsistent, but at a time when you're supposedly building depth and competition across the back line, you're losing players with actual Ibrox experience. That's a risk. But if the Cornelius signing was the flame, it was the Yusuf Chimitai deal that truly lit the fuse. £8 million, rising to 10 with add-ons. For a striker who hasn't scored a single goal in the English Premier League, that's not just a risk. That's a full-on roll of the dice, and the Rangers fan base isn't buying it. The kid has potential, sure. He's got physical presence, he's mobile, and he's got age on his side. But this is Rangers Football Club. The expectations are not for projects, they're for results. And when you spend that kind of money, especially after selling proven attackers, you'd better believe fans are going to demand immediate returns. That's where the anger is boiling over. Chimitai may be promising, but supporters are asking one simple question. Why him, and why now, when others who've already delivered in a Rangers shirt have been pushed out the door? Cyril Dessers sold to Panathinaikos for just over £3 million after finishing last season as one of the club's most productive forwards. Hamza Igamain, another attacker, shown the exit and now playing for Lille. Between them, Dessers and Igamain may not have been perfect, but they were battle-tested. They knew what it meant to pull on the blue shirt. And now they're gone, replaced by untested potential and optimism that feels, frankly, unearned. And it's not just about the players, either. It's about timing. It's about context. It's about the fact that Rangers are winless in their opening run of Premiership fixtures, already falling behind Celtic in the title race. And yet, somehow, the squad seems thinner than it did a few months ago. That's a brutal reality to accept. The Old Firm clash at Ibrox ended in a goalless draw, Rangers' fourth draw on the spin. And while Martin took some positives from the clean sheet and the defensive discipline on the day, there's no hiding from the fact that the attack is blunt. The movement is sluggish. The final third lacks imagination and, crucially, lacks clinical edge. Martin's comments after that draw were telling. He praised the effort, the structure, the focus, and fair play. The backline did hold up under pressure. But supporters don't live on defensive organization alone, especially not at Ibrox. They want goals. They want dominance. They want to feel like their club is growing, not shrinking under the weight of questionable decisions. Let's not forget, this is the same transfer window where Martin wanted Connor Cody before he joined Wrexham and pursued Nobel Mendy from Real Betis, only for that move to collapse at the last minute. What fans are seeing is a manager who has targets, but seems unable to secure them. And instead of contingency plans with equal pedigree, the replacements feel second tier. That raises questions not just about recruitment, but about the club's negotiation power, the scouting process, and who's really pulling the strings. All of this has left Russell Martin with a squad that's full of maybes. Maybe Cornelius will step up. Maybe Chimitai will silence the doubters. Maybe Fernandez and Narajiga will blossom into dominant forces. But that's a lot of maybes, and not enough guarantees. When you're chasing a title, trying to assert yourself in Europe, and needing to keep pace with a Celtic side that, let's be honest, look far more settled, maybe isn't going to cut it. And then we come to Nico Raskin. Oh boy. The Belgian midfielder's situation is another subplot that's added fuel to the fire. Left out of the squad to face Celtic. Trained alone. Speculation swirling. And yet, still no clarity. Martin refused to comment directly on Raskin's exclusion, deflecting in his post-match comments by focusing on the group effort and not singling out individuals. But Rangers fans aren't stupid. They see the signs. They hear the silence. And what they're feeling is worry. Worry that a key player, one of the few who can genuinely control the tempo of a match from midfield, is being edged out during a period when stability is needed more than ever. Now, we know Raskin has flown off for international duty with Belgium, and by all accounts, he's expected to return to Ibrox after the break and rejoin the squad. So maybe, just maybe, there's a route back into Martin's plans. But supporters have already made their feelings known. Chants from the stands, social media buzzing, and a growing sense that if Martin continues to freeze out fan favorites, he's not just risking results on the pitch, but also losing the dressing room off it. And that is perhaps the biggest red flag of all. For any manager, at any level, losing the faith of the supporters is dangerous. But at a club like Rangers, where passion and expectation run higher than almost anywhere else, it can be fatal. The fanbase is not just a background feature. They're the club's heartbeat. And right now, that heartbeat is out of sync with what Russell Martin is trying to build. In the end, what we've seen is a deadline day that could, and perhaps should, have been a statement of intent. A final push to inspire belief. To show the fans that the club is ready to challenge, not just survive. Instead, what they got was a mix of indecision, risky purchases, and exits that seemed to weaken the squad rather than improve it. Martin is banking on his vision. But unless results come fast, and unless Chimitai finds his feet immediately, this could go down as one of the most miscalculated windows in recent Rangers memory. And remember, Rangers are heading into a brutal schedule. Hearts up next, then Hibernian, Livingston, Falkirk, and let's not forget the Europa League campaign that could define their season. There's no room for more false starts. No room for projects that need time. What this team needs, what these fans deserve, is a squad ready to deliver. Right now, there's a very real sense, among the support, that the club is being dragged into familiar territory, where big decisions are made behind closed doors, and the people who live and breathe Rangers every single day are left completely in the dark. It's not just about transfer fees or who's wearing the shirt on match day. It's about identity. It's about ambition. And it's about whether the people in charge truly understand what it means to represent this club. Russell Martin, to his credit, has tried to remain calm under pressure. His interviews are measured. He talks about long-term plans, about setting standards, about holding players accountable. And maybe that approach works in a dressing room. But outside it, among fans who are watching their team fail to win any of their opening league games, it's starting to wear thin. The truth is, no amount of talk about process can paper over the fact that Rangers are yet to show any real cutting edge this season. And when the goals don't come, and the wins aren't there, patience turns to unrest. Quickly, and while we're being honest, let's not pretend the football has been easy on the eye. There have been flashes, little moments where you see what Martin's trying to build. A slick passing move here, a quick break there. But for the most part, it's been flat, predictable, slow. And in the Scottish Premiership, where every team wants to sit deep and frustrate you, you can't afford to be one-paced and unimaginative. You need players who can break the lines. You need width. You need sharp movement. And above all, you need goals. That's what's missing. Bringing in Yusuf Chimitai might eventually help, but that's a long-term bet. And again, that's the core issue. It feels like everything Martin is doing is focused on a future that's not guaranteed. You don't get 3 seasons to build at Rangers. You barely get 3 months if results don't come. Just look at recent history. Managers don't survive on potential. They survive on points. What's even more frustrating for fans is the timing of it all. Celtic are far from their best this season. They've got injuries, they've had inconsistent form, and yet, they're still ahead in the table. This was a moment for Rangers to pounce, to show they were ready to reclaim the crown. Instead, the club feels passive, reactive, like it's waiting for things to happen rather than making them happen. And supporters are sick of waiting. There's also growing concern about how the squad's balance has shifted. Look across the pitch and ask yourself, where's the proven quality? Where's the depth that can come off the bench and change a game? Losing Dessers and Igamain in the same window was always going to sting. They weren't world beaters, but they knew how to find the net. They had presence. They gave defenders something to think about. Now, Rangers are left hoping Chimitai settles quickly, or that Movsky turns out to be the real deal. That's not a plan, that's a punt. And then there's the youth aspect. Every fan wants to see young players coming through. They want to see the next big talent rise up in the blue shirt. But not at the cost of results. Not when the season is slipping away before it's even properly begun. Martin has talked a lot about giving opportunities to fresh faces, about building a culture that rewards performance. But the reality is, when those performances don't bring points, it's the manager who carries the can. And speaking of carrying the weight, how long until the pressure starts showing in the dressing room? It's one thing to talk about unity, about team spirit and belief. But footballers aren't blind. They know when a squad is unbalanced. They know when certain players are being frozen out, or when the mood starts to turn toxic. The situation with Raskin is a perfect example. You don't just drop a player like that, someone who has contributed, who clearly has fans on his side, without expecting some kind of fallout. Martin says it's not about individuals, it's about the group. But fans aren't stupid. They see what's happening. They saw Raskin training alone. They saw him left out of the squad entirely. They heard the chants inside Ibrox. That's not just noise, it's a message. The supporters are drawing a line in the sand. They want clarity. They want answers. And if they don't get them, that pressure is only going to intensify. It's also worth pointing out that this isn't just about transfers or team selection. It's about the bigger feeling that things are being mishandled from the top down. Recruitment has been scattergun. One week it's experienced leaders like Cody being targeted, the next it's unknown talents from abroad. Some deals fall through at the last minute. Others come out of nowhere. Where's the strategy? Where's the consistency? The sense of long-term planning? Look at successful Rangers sides of the past, and you'll see the same thing, balance. Not just on the pitch, but in the recruitment, in the dressing room, in the overall culture of the club. Right now, it feels like none of that's in place. And when supporters start to feel like their club has lost its direction, that's when the real danger starts. That's when the voices grow louder. The patience runs out, and calls for change begin. Of course, there's still time to turn things around. A win against Hearts next weekend could lift the mood, especially if it's convincing. A few goals, a solid performance, and suddenly things feel a little more stable. But that's the thing, everything now hangs on results. There's no more room for explanation. No more trust the process slogans. It's about points. It's about performances. It's about showing that this team is actually capable of competing, not just surviving. Because make no mistake, this next stretch of games is going to define Martin's tenure. Hearts, Hibs, Livingston, Falkirk, and then the Europa League fixtures kick in. Every single match is going to be a test, not just of the players, but of the manager's ability to respond to criticism, to adjust, to inspire. And right now, the question isn't whether Martin has a plan, it's whether he can convince anyone to believe in it. Supporters want to believe. They always do. That's the beauty and the burden of this club. No matter how many setbacks, no matter how many rebuilds, the fan base turns up. They sing. They back the badge. But they also expect. They demand. And when those demands aren't met, there's nowhere to hide. And that's the real danger facing Russell Martin. Not just that the team is underperforming, but that the connection between the fans and the club feels frayed. That the trust, which was never infinite to begin with, is beginning to snap. And once that happens, it's hard to get it back. For now, the spotlight is firmly on the manager. His signings, his tactics, his man management. Every decision is under scrutiny. Every word is analyzed. That's life at Ibrox. That's the price of wearing the badge. But Martin doesn't just need to survive the pressure. He needs to prove that his way is the right way. And he needs to do it fast. Because if this team doesn't start producing, if the goals don't come, If the wins don't stack up, it won't just be fans asking questions. It'll be the board. It'll be the media. It'll be the players themselves. And then, it's no longer just about one bad window. It's about the whole project falling apart before it's even begun. Right now, Ibrox isn't just a stadium. It's a pressure cooker. And Russell Martin is right at the center of the heat. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to get all the exclusive news about Rangers FC. Don't overlook any details about your beloved team. It's crucial for Rangers FC fans. The footballing rumor mill has rarely spun with such intensity as it has this week, as whispers swirl around Ibrox and beyond regarding the supposed arrival of Kenny McLean in a Rangers shirt. The very suggestion of McLean trading the green fields of Carrow Road, where he has long represented Norwich City with pride and consistency, for the electric atmosphere of Ibrox has already lit up discussions from pubs in Glasgow to message boards across Scotland. Supporters, journalists, and pundits alike are weighing up the credibility of this supposed bombshell, with many pointing out that the Scotland international, a seasoned midfielder with both Premier League and Championship experience, fits the mold of what Rangers have been seeking. The prospect of a local lad, one raised in the Scottish game and well attuned to its demands, returning north of the border to don the famous royal blue is enough to set pulses racing. While the official confirmation remains conspicuously absent, the suggestion alone has sparked a wave of anticipation, speculation, and perhaps even a little disbelief, for such a move could redefine the balance of power in Scottish football for the season ahead. Should McLean's arrival indeed materialize, the implications stretch far beyond a simple squad addition. Rangers, under the weight of expectations to reclaim domestic dominance and make meaningful strides in European competition, have been crying out for a midfield presence capable of dictating tempo, breaking lines with his passing, and providing leadership on and off the pitch. McLean, who has garnered more than his fair share of admirers for his tactical discipline and ability to link defense with attack seamlessly, seems the type to thrive in that demanding environment. The timing of this rumor adds further intrigue, with the transfer window edging toward its conclusion, creating the sense of a late masterstroke that could bolster Rangers' ambitions. For supporters, the tantalizing idea of a player steeped in both Scottish roots and English top-flight exposure represents a bridge between heritage and modernity, a footballer who understands the traditions of the game here, yet brings the polish of experience abroad. It is little wonder that terraces are buzzing, commentators are speculating, and rivals are quietly frowning at what could be a pivotal twist in the unfolding narrative of the season. Yet, amid all the chatter and excitement, questions inevitably arise about the veracity of the reports and the motivations behind them. Rumors, after all, are the very currency of football discourse, and this one bears the hallmarks of both possibility and doubt. McLean has never publicly expressed dissatisfaction with life in England, nor have Norwich been vocal about offloading one of their consistent performers. At the same time, Rangers' need for reinforcements has been clear to see, and the financial realities of modern football often make deals appear from nowhere. Some argue that such a move would represent a romantic return home for McLean, a chance to make his mark on the Scottish stage at a time when Rangers are pushing relentlessly for silverware. Others suggest the speculation might be no more than a strategic maneuver, whether by agents, clubs, or interested parties, to nudge negotiations elsewhere. Still, in a landscape where smoke often indicates fire, the mere persistence of this particular story invites one to believe that where there is talk, there may soon be confirmation. For Rangers supporters, the allure of Kenny McLean lies not simply in his ability to anchor a midfield, but in the intangible sense of identity and fight he could inject into the squad. Born in Rutherglen, developed through the Scottish game, and now a veteran of England's unforgiving footballing tiers, he embodies both the grit and sophistication that could elevate the team. His inclusion would not only offer tactical flexibility, slotting into various midfield roles with composure and assurance, but also provide a steadying influence in the high-pressure contests that define Rangers' campaigns. Imagine the roar at Ibrox as McLean strides out in blue, a homegrown Scot returning to chase glory where the stakes could not be higher. Supporters thrive on such narratives, and while trophies are won on the pitch rather than through sentiment, football remains at heart a game of passion and story. If McLean indeed signs, his unveiling would undoubtedly be cast as more than just a transfer. It would be framed as a statement of intent, a declaration that Rangers are not only strengthening, but doing so with players who carry the spirit of Scottish football in their veins. Even as the rumor simmers without official word, its ripple effect is undeniable, fueling conversations about tactics, ambition, and the ever-shifting balance of power in Scotland's footballing hierarchy. Rival fans may scoff or dismiss the chatter as premature, but they too recognize that the addition of a player like McLean could tilt the scales in critical fixtures, particularly in the fierce encounters with Celtic that so often define seasons. Journalists, meanwhile, continue to chase leads, insiders drop hints, and bookmakers adjust odds on Rangers' title prospects in response to the noise. Whether true or not, the story has already served its purpose. It has injected excitement into the late stages of the transfer window, provided fans with dreams of what might be, and reminded everyone of football's irresistible unpredictability. Should the announcement finally come, it will not land in silence, but rather erupt amid cheers, debates, and headlines declaring the bombshell to be reality. Until then, the rumor remains alive, feeding the imagination of a fanbase always hungry for the next chapter in the story of Rangers Football Club. Greetings, fans. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, as it's greatly appreciated by Rangers FC. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments section below. Until the next video, stay tuned.